Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you here. Let me see if I'm trying to sync the Death Star plans with Dropbox. Yes, I am. Let me suspend that. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. I am Heath. This morning, we'll be taking a look at this, which I'm not all the way through yet myself, but now is a good time to actually start going through it. This is the Screenwriter's Bible. This is an early one that Cameron recommended, and I know it's also very popular, and I thought it would be a good time to go through it with you as well, because I know a lot of us are getting ready for NaNoWriMo, and we're going to be doing that when that starts in November, and we need to be ready for that. So getting ready for that could be making sure that, we're structured. You got your outline right now. I know some people may be pantsers versus plotters, but of course, most of us, or many of us here, since we've talked so much about story structure here and on Table Talk, which we should be having a Table Talk tonight on Black Hawk Down. I got to verify that with Doug, but that should be what's going on tonight. And then, but since we've talked so much about structure, I know a lot of us are probably more into the plotting things out and getting all that structure done. So this one is The Screenwriter's Bible, a complete guide to writing, formatting, and selling your script. So I had started going through it, so we will see, and then we will continue through, and maybe it'll help us all out. For those of you who are going to do NaNoWriMo, whether you're going to be doing a story, a novel, or a screenplay. Let's see. Hopefully everybody's gotten their work done. Yeah, my Discord. My Discord isn't working. I noticed that yesterday. I needed to use it yesterday, and Discord wasn't opening, but I didn't really think too much about it. I was like, oh, I'll have to do something, but it's still not working this morning. So maybe Discord has done something. Because I was see James is saying Zero the Blade. Zero the Blade has been a member for 8 months. Good morning, Zero. So good to have you here. Today's going to be a big day. Tuesday is always a big day for me because Brianna and we do the morning grind. I have a little bit of time to work, and I need to work on. I almost have everything ready for the Goodnight Sword relaunch on Indiegogo. I just have to put in the actual items. I was working on the actual items, but the page is done. The items have to go in. So we got to work on that. Then Brianna and I will meet to talk about Dark Goddess and the Christmas Story this afternoon. Then I've really got to find some time in there. Maybe while I'm putting on the adding in the items to rewatch Black Hawk Down, and then we will do the deep dive tonight on Table Talk on the Table Talk channel, which also, by the way, only now it had 399 subscribers. Let's see if we've gotten to 400 subscribers on the Table Talk channel. We've had 161 views in the past 60 minutes. So even as we've been sitting here this morning, people have been watching stuff on the Table Talk channel. Let's see. Do we have 400? No, we're at 399 subscribers over on the Table Talk channel. So that's going on well over there. Then it's time for me to get marketing the Christmas Story, because it looks like we're going to launch that in 2 weeks. Today Tuesday? Yeah, today's Tuesday. So 1 week and the launch of the Indiegogo for Goodnight Sword hard copies, and then in 2 weeks the launch of a Kickstarter for the Christmas Story. James asks, have you ever read Your Screenplay Sucks by William M. Ackers? It was the first book on specific screenplay improvement that I read. Very useful and infinitely readable. I have not. However, it is sitting over here in the stack right here. I've got it right here. So Your Screenplay Sucks. We might have to take a look at this one. Your Screenplay Sucks. We might have to do that. The reason I got this one is actually because I found on Instagram Reels. So Instagram Reels, the author here, William M. Ackers, was doing some reels, the short videos about writing and screenwriting, and I just watched like 40 or 50 of them. Like there were a bunch of them. I went, this is really good. Wait a minute, what is he doing? So he's got Your Screenplay Sucks. So he sold a book that way. I was really a big fan of what he was saying on the reels. So that's why I bought that. And that means that book is also in the giant stack of books to read. That was nonfiction, but this is so many pages to sit here and read. Ackers' delivery is like Drake's, blunt and humorous. Why is everything on fire? Oh, I didn't try the web. I didn't actually even think to go to the web app. Yeah, the funny. So I got my secondary camera over here working, but then it disconnected. It unpaired from the studio app that brings its feed into StreamYard, and I was trying to get it to reconnect. Hey, reconnect. Eventually, I had to go down and actually grab the wire and put it back in. So that was the solution to reconnect it. But its solution is to connect it. It gives you one of those QR codes and just show the camera the QR code. So the QR code was up on my screen, and when I just had my cell phone that was on this, it was really no problem to just turn around my cell phone and reconnect it. Show that cell phone the QR code and connect it, and then set it back down over here. But this is an older iPad that's over here, and I actually have it taped up to my monitor up here in this corner. And I was like, no, wait a minute. I can't disconnect. I can't take my phone. My iPad over here and show it my screen anymore. So what have I got to do? Hey, Brett. Good morning. Good morning. And PH, you're here. All right. Oh, Sable says, I'm working on my book. I found it weirdly influenced by the good, the bad, and the ugly since that film became more and more surreally dreamlike the closer it got to the end. Especially the eminently liminal bridge battle and demolition. Never expected to be influenced from a spaghetti western in an urban fantasy. That is interesting. Multiverse DM says the best thing I learned about script writing is concerning production. Each page is divided into 8 color-coded sections. Knowing this helps you write better on each page of the script. Oh, you're getting all three of Drake's brutal books on writing should be delivered to me. Which one's what is number 3? Is the one on the hero's journey specifically? I don't think I have that one. I've got dynamic story creation. That was first, and I'm a big fan of this one. And then Drake's brutal writing advice on point of view is this one. But he's got one just on the hero's journey, right? I don't think it had come out when I was looking at that. Hey, Charlie. Okay, let's come over here and let's do our reading this morning. So I will. I guess I should put a link. Well, I guess I don't know where it is right now. But okay. I'll have that tonight. The Good Night Sword link, because that's coming. If you're here, just find us, and you don't have it yet. But I don't have that link right now. Look for it tonight and tomorrow. All right, let's bring up. Let's get our morning inspiration through Stephen Pressfield. There we go. All right, everybody got your drink this morning? Everybody get your drink. It's time for the mental health portion of the show. 2 deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a drink. Just think about nothing. Just think about breathing for 10 seconds. And sip. All right. Okay, we're talking about resistance here. This is Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art. We read from it briefly in the mornings before we go on to our main topic. Resistance and fear, resistance and love. We talked about that yesterday. Resistance and being a star. Resistance is everything that keeps you from being everything that you need to be. Grandiose fantasies are a symptom of resistance. They're the sign of an amateur. The professional has learned that success, like happiness, comes as a byproduct of work. The professional concentrates on the work and allows reward to come or not to come, whatever they like. Let's read that again. Grandiose fantasies are a symptom of resistance. They're the sign of an amateur. The professional has learned that success, like happiness, comes as a byproduct of work. The professional concentrates on the work and allows reward to come or not come, whatever they like. Resistance and isolation. Sometimes we balk at embarking on an enterprise because we're afraid of being alone. We feel comfortable with the tribe around us. It makes us nervous going off into the woods on our own. Here's the trick. We're never alone. As soon as we step outside the campfire glow, our muse lights on our shoulder like a butterfly. The act of courage calls forth infallibly that deeper part of ourselves that supports and sustains us. Have you seen interviews with the young John Lennon or Bob Dylan when the reporter tries to ask about their personal selves? The boys deflect these queries with withering sarcasm. Why? Because Lennon and Dylan knew that the part of them that writes the songs is not them. not the personal self that is such of such surpassing fascination to their boneheaded interrogators. Lennon and Dillon also knew the part of themselves that does the writing was too scared, too precious, too fragile to be redacted into sound bites for the titillation of would-be idolaters, who are themselves caught up in their own resistance. So they put them on and blow them off. It is commonplace among artists and children to play that they're not aware of time or solitude when they're chasing their vision. The hours fly. The sculptures and the tree-climbing tyke look up, both blinking, when mom calls supper time. I've definitely had my spent my time in isolation here, and it's still not done. Oh, okay. So the other one is called The Ultimate Guide, Show, Don't Tell. I may have to get this one too then. Drake. The Ultimate Guide to Show, Don't Tell. Drake's Brutal Writing Advice number 3. It says, "Oh, so you've returned, young bard, and bold enough and brave to brave the viciousness of the world wizard scorn a third time, are you? You bear the scars of our previous lessons, and yet you yearn for more. Intriguing. Well, then allow me to test your mettle once again. In the merciless world of letters and ink, showing isn't merely painting with brighter colors. It's crafting entire sagas from silken strands and your writer's raw emotions. Between the pages of this tome, we'll go on another grand adventure into the terrifying realm of prose, stripped bare by my unparalleled pedagogical flair, of course. I guarantee you this. Complete this journey, and you'll master this elusive craft. And if you prove unworthy, you can plunge into a grim, bottomless adverbial abyss, for all I care." Huh. Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to have to get that one. I don't want the Kindle edition, though. I want the physical edition. Yeah, paperback. Okay. I'll put it in my cart. I have one of Drake's books, but I'll need to hold off on reading it. I have edits to do and comments to draft, and I need to wrap up Faraway Bird for Doug. Oh, and James says, "Speaking of edits, I'll be starting the Christmas story this evening." Oh, yes. Okay. I sent Brianna her notes last night. Interesting. Well, she and I will meet this afternoon. All right. Let's scared, not scared, although I may have put that scared part up for investigation given what Pressfield's saying here. All right, let's go over to Go auxiliary camera. Hitting a state of flow like that is extremely satisfying. Adverbial abyss. Yes, it is. All right, let's see what this says over here. The Screenwriter's Bible. This was also, so this is one that Cameron recommended. It was the first. It was one of the ones that he used to write and get his first one sold. And he recommended it, and it's an early one that he recommends. So this says, well, let me look at the back first. The Screenwriter's Bible is 5 books in one, a screenwriting primer that provides a concise course in screenwriting basics, a spec script writing guide that demonstrates today's spec style through sample scenes and analysis with an emphasis on grabbing the reader's interest in the first 10 pages. Once again, first 10 pages comes up again. First 10 pages, so important. A screenwriting workbook that walks you through the complete writing process from nascent ideas through final revisions. Oh, by the way, one topic that we need to do, I want to do a complete breakdown on AI and art, which can include writing. I just haven't had time to, I want to do a deep dive myself in order to research that topic a lot more. I want to talk about it because I know it's controversial. we have generally been much more pro AI and using it as a tool than other people, than some circles are. And I want to do a deeper dive into it before we, do a complete breakdown, and maybe even have people on Table Talk to discuss it. But yesterday I was watching a video about some specific screenwriting software, some AI software, because I did really attack Chat GPT and see what it could do as far as writing a script goes. At least this is, of course, you have to say it's not, there could be other things that's not publicly available, of course, and things do change. But at least at the moment, what is publicly available through Chat GPT, I could not get to give a decent, it wasn't writing anything that you really want to read. It wasn't doing that. I couldn't get that to work. But I was watching somebody work with some dedicated channel, with a dedicated script writing AI. Now, it probably uses Chat GPT as a backend. It might. I mean, it might use the API, but it has other things built into it. What was it called? It was called like Plot dot AI. Yeah, plot. Okay, it's plot dot AI. I was watching a YouTube video on it yesterday. Your AI-powered story crafting partner. Transform your fully fledged scripts into hours instead of days. Transform ideas into fully fledged scripts in hours instead of days with our industry redefining AI-powered screenwriting assistant. So that is a plot dot AI. So actually, one morning, who knows, might be sometime this week before NaNoWriMo, we should probably see at least what plot dot is and see if we can use it at all. James says, I'd love to compare our notes. Is that something you think Brianna would be interested in? I think it would be. I think it would be. I'll ask her about that. I will ask her about that. Multiverse DM says 99% of scripts fail because page 3, 10 pages is because before page 3, 10 is too many now. If there's no character arc or transition in and out of each scene, the next script, it's on to the next script in the stack of thousands. And people don't, people don't realize how many of them are out there. There's everybody's got one. I mean, the number I realized that the first time I was talking to a producer who had done movies for like the Hallmark Channel and other things. So he's done productions, and he was talking about not ideas. Oh, so if he was like, hey, I got an idea for a movie. That doesn't matter because he's got a stack of finished scripts sitting there to choose from, like stacks of them. So an idea doesn't do anything because, I don't need an idea because I've already got finished whole scripts over here. So even if you get the script done, I mean, yeah, it's a stack. It's a one in thousands and thousands. Good morning, TSL Frontman. Charlie says, I've used ChatGPT to spark ideas for RPG games, scenes, and encounters just to get the brain some ideas. Oh, you have problems with it? All right. Well, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. I've occasionally, what I found that ChatGPT was good for. I mean, there are things that it's good for, but as far as story goes, that if you just really can't come up with something, it'll generate some ideas for you, and then you're not working with a blank page. You can go, oh well, that doesn't work, and the reason it doesn't work is because, and then you're rewriting instead of trying to come up with that initial thing that sucks. Okay, so a screenwriting workbook. Oh, that's why that's what made me think about the AI was the screenwriting workbook, because they were saying, well, hey, we're going to help you. That AI is going to help you put down the structure, because that's one thing that ChatGPT did not understand. It did not understand story structure like we've been talking about story structure. But that plot.ai is supposed to help you with that. But I'm not sure how much, is really AI in a particular sense. Because it could be, there have been workbooks like this that help you structure your plot a lot. And you could just be automating that in software. I mean, that could be what's happening. So I don't know how much, I don't know what, how much different it is. A formatting guide that thoroughly covers today's correct formats for screenplays and TV scripts. A sales and marketing guide that presents proven strategies to help create a laser-sharp marketing plan. That's also important, obviously. Among this book's wealth of practical information are sample query letters, useful worksheets, checklists, hundreds of examples, sample scenes, and straightforward explanations of screenwriting fundamentals. The 7th edition is chock full of new examples, the latest practices, and new material on non-traditional screenplay outlets. So, it says the Bible provides clear answers to crucial questions. How do I get discovered in today's difficult, crowded marketplace? How do I sell my script if I don't have an agent? How do I find an agent? How do I get in the game now, even if I don't live in LA? How do I summon my muse and spark my creative energy? What is the character action grid, and what makes it so fast and effective in evaluating and revising my work? What common formatting mistakes turn off agents and readers? What are the tricks to effective scene construction and transition? What are the single most important keys to writing great dialogue? And what are the 7 deadly dialogue sins? How do I write a query letter or one sheet that will get my script read? How do I build a winning, compelling pitch? What are the unwritten rules? What breakthrough strategies can jumpstart my own screenwriting career? What is meant by the heart of the story, and how do I get mine beating? How do I break into television, the new media, or other lesser-known markets? What are the 10 keys to creating captivating characters? What basic plot paradigms do virtually all stories utilize? How do I find the high concept in my own script so I can sell it? How can I find clear writing processes that will motivate me to finish my script? How can I add dimension, depth, and emotion to virtually any story? How do I bring my characters to life and fascinate readers? What are the 10 tools every writer needs and few have before approaching the market? Where do contests fit in my contests? Okay, how do contests fit in my strategic marketing plan? Where can a new writer get a free feedback? How does Hollywood really work? How is a spec script different from a shooting script, and how do I write it? What writing opportunities are often overlooked by screenwriters? It is all in the Bible, it says. Contents. James says, I've worked with a ton of Hallmark style films. I used to be Michael Pfeiffer's key PA. Really? He's a legend in the industry for how quickly and low budget he produces films. He's a writer director. Oh, interesting. Multiverse says, I believe a short story Bible is the key, just like a Stranger Things used, mostly visual and almost no words. I think I've mentioned this before. Let me see. Stranger Things. I have the Stranger Things pitch deck. And actually, there's a video. That's a clip that needs to come out. The Stranger Things pitch deck. We got so much to talk about, Brianna and I, this afternoon. We've also got to start working on our YouTube channels and our shows. Hopefully, we're going to get to be able to start organizing that, because there is a table talk clip on the Stranger Things pitch deck. Yeah, right. Yeah, I heard you mention a Hallmark style films and a producer you spoke to, which is why I mentioned it. Yeah, so that interview is going to come back out on Table Talk. That was Chuck Bush. So, how to write a screenplay, a primer, writing and revising scenes, a script consultant's view, 7 steps to a stunning script, a workbook, proper formatting technique, a style guide, and how to sell your script, a marketing plan. So this is going to be this is one I need to go into now. All right. Let's just see what it says. How stories work. The next great screenwriter. You may have heard that breaking into the movie business is tough. It is. However, if you write a script that presents a character that has a clear and specific goal or desire, and there is strong opposition to that goal, leading to a crisis and an emotionally satisfying end point, your script will automatically find itself in the upper 10%. Okay, let's read that again. This is what we got to do here. If you write a script that presents a character that has a clear and specific goal or desire, and there is strong opposition to that goal, leading to a crisis and an emotionally satisfying ending, your script will automatically find itself in the upper 10%. Few developing screenwriters have mastered even the basics of screenwriting. If your script also presents a well-crafted story built on an original concept or premises featuring a fascinating character with which people can become emotionally involved, there are agents and producers awaiting the advent of the next great screenwriter. So this says, you can be that next great screenwriter if you work hard, learn your craft, and develop discipline. You'll need to apply the fine art of pleasant persistence, and there are going to be disappointments, but you can do it. Now stop for just a moment and say that to yourself. All successful screenwriters begin the same way. You can do it. We should say that. So stop. When was this published? James is asking. That's a good point. We should look at this. This is the 7th edition. It specifically says, this is like over here. I skipped that, but it says what's new in the 7th edition. So I'm reading the 7th edition. Oh, here we go. This is published in 2019. So it looks like the 7th edition came out in 2019. Originally came out in 1994. But the 7th edition is 2019. So you can do it. So we need motivation. There we go. You can do it. All successful screenwriters begin the same way. All write one or more feature-length scripts of about 100 pages or so. Even if you want to write for television, your best means of entering the industry is to write via a feature script that you can use as a sample or plot. So that's what Brianna and I are doing. Two and maybe three feature-length scripts. Book one is designed to help you write that one spec script that's going to get you noticed. What's a spec script? Unless the script you're writing now, it's the script you're writing now on the speculation that someone will buy it later. Unless you're being paid in advance to write, you are writing a spec. Book two gives you specific directions on the nitty-gritty of writing and revising scenes. Book three provides step-by-step script development guidance, while book four is your industry standard formatting and style guide. Book five helps you sell your script and or find work. The strength of the screenplay form. A screenplay differs from a stage play or novel in a number of ways. Oh, I think this is a fantastically interesting passage. Brianna and I talked about this passage right here quite a bit. So this is how a screenplay differs from a stage play or novel in a number, and it does so in a number of ways. This is really important from the story perspective. A novel may describe a character's thoughts and feelings page after page. It's a great medium for expressing internal conflict. A stage play is almost exclusively verbal. Soap operas and sitcoms fit into this category. A movie is primarily visual. Yes, it will contain dialogue. It may even deal with internal things, but it's primarily a visual medium that requires visual writing. Sable Phoenix has even talked about this, movies being a visual medium. I have seldom read a first screenplay that did not have too much dialogue and too little action. You may have that same common tendency to tell rather than show. Picture a stage play in which a babysitter cuts paper dolls with her scissors. The children are upstairs playing. From the other side of the room, a robber enters. He approaches her with a knife. Just in time, she turns and stabs him with the scissors. Not particularly suspenseful. In an actual stage play, these people would probably talk to each other for about 10 minutes before the physical confrontation, because the conflict in a stage play generally comes out of dialogue. That's the strength of the stage play form. A novel may focus on the thoughts and feelings of each character. That's the strength of the novel form, inner conflict. Perhaps the babysitter contemplates suicide, and this is the robber's first job. Neither is sure he or she can go through with it. These inner conflicts manifest themselves through inner dialogue. However, a screenplay will focus on the visual and emotional aspects of the scene. The scissors penetrate one of the paper dolls. The doorknob slowly turns. The babysitter doesn't notice. Outside, the dog barks, but the kids upstairs are so noisy that the babysitter doesn't hear the dog. A figure slides in through the shadows. His knife fills the screen. He moves toward her. The dog barks louder. The intruder inches closer, but she is completely absorbed in cutting paper dolls. He looms over her. His knife goes up. The dog barks louder still. She suddenly becomes aware, turns, and impales the man with the scissors. He falls. His legs twitch and finally become still. She drops the scissors and screams. The focus here is on the action, the drama, because movies are primarily visual. Yes, there are notable exceptions, but you are wise to use the strength of this medium for which you chose to write. Inner conflict is great. Dialogue is important to bring out interpersonal conflict, but make your screenplay visually powerful. Let me take out my highlighter here. Yes, so I got to remember that. Inner conflict is great. Dialogue is important to bring out interpersonal conflict, but make your screenplay visually powerful. Showing through action usually works better than telling with dialogue. Even in character-driven dialogue scripts, add visual touches. It says, for example, the Gran Torino automobile in Gran Torino can be seen as a symbol of Walt's traditional American male values as he sees them. The house in Up is a symbol of Carl's wife, Ellie, and his memories of her. Likewise, Ellie's My Adventure book becomes a symbol of the theme. Her book inspires Carl to have a new adventure. And Play It Again, Sam, the central character's inner conflict is made visual through the imaginary friend Humphrey Bogart, who periodically gives him advice about women. Always look for opportunities to make the abstract visual and the internal external. Let me say it again because I choked. Always look for opportunities to make the abstract visual and the internal external. I will mention the importance of visual writing and creating cinematic moments throughout the Screenwriter's Bible. Multiverse says, very good points about novels versus scripts. So James says, yes, all of this 100% correct. Try to avoid saying what a character thinks for film and stage and limit spoken word in film. Try to avoid saying what a character thinks for film and stage and limit spoken words to film, in film. Multiverse. See, it's amazing the number of us who have found the morning grind, who we love the RPGs, we're developing games, we're developing scripts and writing stories. We all want to do the same kinds of things, the same category of things, creating worlds. So my spec is a post-Breaking Bad featuring the knowledge of WW transferred into a young student in Japan. You need to lean into the strength and medium that you select. Scripts and RPGs require visual storytelling. Yeah, being a visual medium is far more deep than this. Too, close-ups, pans, rotations. The subtext you can achieve with the camera alone is staggering. James says, I couldn't agree more. It's a wonderful little niche that you've built. So, yeah, I mean, I've thought about the format of the morning grind because we've done a lot of RPGs, and I want to get back to some RPGs because I especially have the AD&D stuff on Heaven and Hell, but I am saving that until I am in the mood to think about the Theophany RPG, which hopefully is coming soon, but I had to go back and I restarted projects going forward again. we did about 200 RPGs. I have to do some other things too. And so this kind of thing, like this is relevant for many of us who are going on to NaNoWriMo. So let's do it. Okay. The importance of being structured. Your screenplay must be well structured because you want your story to survive once the director and the other collaborators take your work of art and make it their own. You want the story to endure. This is one reason William Goldman emphasized in his book Adventures on the Screen Trade that screenplays are structure. Art, whether it's a painting, a flower arrangement, a rock ballad, or your story, is a union of form and content. Accordingly, the content of your stories requires dramatic structure or form to give it shape. Structure is the skeleton on which you hang the meat of your story, and without that skeletal framework, your story content falls flat like a blob of jelly, incapable of forward movement. Most beginning writers just begin writing without much thought of story structure, whereas where are their stories going and how will they end? So most beginning writers just begin writing without much thought of story structure. Where are their stories going and where will they end? Soon writer's block sets in. One of your first writing steps will be to construct a skeleton, a structural model of some kind. Some screenwriters find it helpful to think in terms of a story map of plot points, rising action, and emotional highlights. Aaron Sorkin, in writing The Social Network, spent a lot of time figuring out how to frame his character-driven screenplay about the founder of Facebook. He finally settled on the deposition hearing as a way of giving the story content, shape, or structure. So 4 acts or 3. Aristotle wrote in his Poetics that drama, and that includes comedy, since comedy is drama in disguise, has a beginning, middle, and an end. You've heard this before. Traditionally, the beginning comprises about 25% of the story, the middle is approximately 50%, and the end is about 25%. These are the basic proportions of the 3-act structure. Some writers prefer thinking in terms of a 4 acts of approximately the same length. The big event leads to the 2nd act, the midpoint to the 3rd, and the crisis in the 4th. In this structure, Act 1 is the beginning, Act 2 and 3 are the middle, and Act 4 is the end. The old Movie of the Week 7-act structure still had a beginning, Act 1, middle, Acts 2 through 5, and end, Acts 6 and 7. Shakespeare's 5-act plays have a beginning, middle, Acts 2, 3, and 4, and end, as does the 5-act movie 4 Weddings and a Funeral. No matter how you structure it, it's still a beginning, middle, and an end. So even so, think of acts in a way that's helpful for your process. Naturally, you should not type Act 1 or Act 2 and so on into your spec script. Brianna and I have talked about that a lot, and she and I guess, talk about the story in terms of 4 parts. She and I often talk about 4 parts. But we say Act 1, Act 2, Part 1, Act 2, Part 2, and then Act 3. So I guess, there's an alternate schema for you right there. 2 parts of Act 2, because that middle point, that way you've got exactly, if you got 120 pages at 60 pages, what's happening? That middle point is a big one. James says, speaking of RPGs, I get the digital awards for Dolanwood this morning. I can send them to you if you'd like to review them. I would check them out. Yeah. And, we still got to look at DC 20 too. Multiverse DM says, in RPGs, that structure is a scaffolding for players to build their structure. And Sorkin is a master. James says, listen to all of his interviews and presentations. Read every word he's written. So because a screenplay is about 90 to 110 pages, 120 being the most, the beginning is usually the first 15 to 25 pages. The middle is the next 50 pages or so, and the end is the last 10 to 25 pages. Obviously, the exact length can vary, but the middle will always be the largest section. Set up complications and resolution. All great screenplays have a beginning, a middle, and an end. In the beginning, you set up your story. That is, you grab the reader's attention, introduce your premise, and establish the situation for conflict. During the middle, you complicate matters and develop the conflict, which should build to some kind of crisis. In the end, you conclude the story and resolve the conflict. Oh, by the way, I want to have... this is part of the planning, but I want to have Retro Nerd Girl on Table Talk just by herself for an interview, because she does a lot of this reviews of stories and movies on her channel. But I found out after the last Table Talk had concluded that she's also writing stuff and has even made stuff. I won't give the link because she hasn't been sharing it, but I saw a trailer for something that she had made. So she made a trailer and even shot the first episode of a web series. So she's also, it's kind of neat how they're talking about how we all find each other who are, all interested in the kinds of same things over here, creative and constructive. So I want to just talk to her individually, and maybe she'll share maybe she'll share her trailer and what she did. So that's really cool that we're all on the same kinds of journey here. The constructive journey. During the middle, you complicate matters and develop the conflict, which should build into some kind of crisis. In the end, your story must resolve the conflict. The end is the payoff for the reader, for the audience, and for you. Put your hero on the proverbial tree, throw rocks at her, and then get her out. Boy meets girl, boy loses girl and tries to get her back. Boy gets girl. Beginning, middle, and end. What about DOA from 1949? It opens with the ending, or does it? Granted, it opens with the end of the central character's life, but not with the end of the story. That's so important. So some people are like, what if you tell the story out of order with its physical events, its chain of physical events? What if you're telling that out of order? The physical events, time may be out of order, but you are, but the story itself is still told in order, beginning, middle, end. What is the story really about? It's not about the central character's death. It's about who killed him. The dramatic premise is this. Can he find his killer before he dies? The story's end is when he finds his killer. This is just a creative way of using the basic model. And Back to the Future, the beginning takes place in 1985, the middle in 1955, and the end in 1985 again. A very simple overall framework. Twists and turns. How do you get from the beginning to the middle and from the middle to the end? Turning points. These are called plot points, transition points, action points, and character crossroads. Hey, good morning, Bush. Welcome to one of our Twitch watchers. So it's great to see some people out there on Twitch. Hey, let's do a toast to the people who come by on Twitch. Discovery on Twitch is terrible. Most people watch on YouTube, but I always stream on Twitch. Simultaneously stream to Twitch just in case. So, hey, Bush. Okay, so plot points, transition points, action points, and character crossroads. Turning points are twists and turns. They are the important events on which your story turns. They complicate or even reverse the action. Drake talks about reversals. He says that reversals are what people remember. So the great scenes where the action shifts from being in the good guy's favor to the bad guy's favor, or from the bad guy's favor back to the good guy's favor when the energy is on their different sides. I don't know where my pencil went, but all right, whatever. So the reverse is important. Every time you're looking for a swap, reverses are what people remember, like Luke and Leia escaping the Death Star. Your story may have dozens of turning points or plot points, but the two that facilitate the transition from act to act are your character's story success. The first big turning point are key to your story's success. The first big turning point ends Act 1, the beginning, and moves the reader and the audience to Act 2, the middle. It could be called the big event because it's usually a big event that dramatically affects the character's central life. The second major turning point moves the reader into Act 3, the end. And this is often with Act 3. This would be the point. The point of all hope is lost. All hope is lost. Hey, Vision. Good morning. It is so good to see you. Welcome. Multiverse says UCal Professor Eric Edson teaches mad, sad, glad, scored, plus stop, win, escape, retreat. Every scene must transition these ultra broad categories. Oh, interesting. Well, great. I am so glad to have you here. Okay. Second major turning point moves the reader into Act 3. I wish I had the, where is it? Well, okay. This is often, here, here's a pen. All hope is lost. That's also one of my favorite beats. And we go into the final showdown or climax. This is the crisis. Of all the crises in your story, this is the one that forces the central character to take the final action or series of actions that will resolve the story. The crisis is usually the low point, the moment where there's no apparent solution. Oh, so he just said it right here. The crisis that all hope is lost. Yes, right here. Usually the low point where there is no apparent solution. I need a different color. I don't like this blue. But all hope is lost. Often that is this here. It's too dark. How big an event? In the film Coco, little Miguel tries to believe that the late singer and guitarist Ernesto de la Cruz is his great-great-grandfather, or comes to believe that the late singer and guitarist Ernesto de la Cruz is his great-great-grandfather. On the Day of the Dead, he sneaks into Ernesto's mausoleum and takes his famous guitar. In doing so, he becomes invisible to the living, can interact with the dead, and is taken to the world of the dead, where he is cursed for stealing the guitar. This is the big event that changes Miguel's life and ushers him into a new world. Will he find Ernesto? Will he be able to return to his family in the living world? And how can he remove the curse? As you see, this plot point clearly sets up everything that follows, both in terms of action and relationship. Please note that in this case, the big event does not involve bombs or a car chase. The big event is big in terms of its meaning to the central character. So I starred that. The big event is big in terms of its meaning to the central character. Just because bombs are going off or car chases are happening does not mean that it is meaningful to the central character. And didn't we talk about that with, we're talking about the story events are not, or physical events are not story, that we get that. Drake was talking about the need for, the story derives meaning for its audience and its characters. Yeah, the story checkpoints needs an engine, just like an RPG needs dice. You have to add the BMOC to every sequence of the story, not just across the entire story. I'm gonna have to look into that. So the Steven Spielberg said that in the best movies, someone loses control of his or her life and then somehow has to regain it. From the films of Steven Spielberg by Douglas Brode. The big event causes that loss of control and often lands the central character in a new physical, mental, or emotional area. So someone loses control of their life and then has to regain it. I'm thinking about that. Yes, James says, raising the scale is not the same thing as raising the stakes. Bombs are big, but they can be meaningless. There can be a lot of meaningless bombs. Catherine in Hidden Figures transforms from a supportive African-American working world to a generally unfriendly white person's working world at NASA. In Castaway, that moment comes when Chuck Noland is cast away onto a deserted island. In Ghost, the big event is the murder of Sam Wheat, played by Patrick Swayze. In this case, he literally loses his life, and that delivers to him a very different kind of world or arena. Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz literally lands in Munchkinland. Emotionally, she finds herself far from home with no apparent way to get back. In Get Out, the new arena is the Armitage Estate. So new arena, that's a lot like, I guess that's like the other world. Natalie's new plan could ground Ryan, George Clooney, in Up in the Air. Andy Dufresne, Tim Robbins, in The Shawshank Redemption, is incarcerated. In Incredibles, Rob Parr is lured to a remote island for a top-secret assignment. Jill is Owen Wilson is transported to 1920s Paris and midnight in Paris, and Jackie Robinson is hired by the Dodgers in 42. The big event for Paul Edgecombe, Tom Hanks, in The Green Mile is when John Coffey heals him, but for Cleo and Roma, it's when Cleo tells Furman she's pregnant and he wounds her by abandoning her. The big event does not transport Cleo to another world or arena. In many movies, the big event does not do that, but it does in most. The big event is the clincher in setting up your story. Your audience is now prepared for the long, exciting journey through the second and third acts. They want to know what happens next. Crisis management. Now, let's take a look at the example of the crisis. I think Jurassic Park. Yeah, Jurassic Park when the power goes out. Yes, life changed. Man, Jurassic Park is probably one we should also do on Table Talk. That was actually not on our big list. I love Jurassic Park. I love the original Jurassic Park movie. Sable says, I prefer braising the steaks personally. Film Courage. Film Courage is great. Multiverse DM. Film Courage features Peter Russell. He worked with me on a project. He teaches the BMOC. I have seen a few meaningless bombs. I wish I could get my time back from those. James says, I like grilling and basting. It just got real moments of cinema, Vision says. Oh, Sable is talking about Con Air. Con Air is a great way. It's been a long time since I've seen Con Air. I haven't even thought about Con Air in a long time. Con Air is a great way to demonstrate bigger and bigger explosions that doesn't actually matter. I actually got bored enough to stop watching the big plane crash because it was just exhausting. Well, maybe that's why I haven't thought about Con Air in a while. Jurassic Park is such a good movie. I'd love to see a stream on that. Actually, while I'm sitting here thinking about it, let me go over to the Table Talk schedule. And go to movies, and let me put on that list. That way I don't forget Jurassic Park. All right, it's on the list now. And Stable says, well, it's Spielberg in his heyday. Jurassic Park is a masterclass in every respect. And it was so, the world was that movie, I remember. The world was that movie. It's kind of the same way the original Batman. The original Batman came out before superhero movies were everything that they are now. And yet I just remember the world being Batman when that came out. And I remember the same kind of thing with Jurassic Park. Just the culture was obsessed with dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. That's what the culture was when that movie was coming out. Vision says Con Air was cool. One of those movies you put on to kill an afternoon. Crisis management. Now let's look at an example of the crisis, or second major turning point, the one that moves the story from its middle to its end. In E.T., it's the moment where E.T. is dying and the scientists converge on his house. Everything looks bleak. It's the moment where it looks least likely that E.T. will ever get home. This is the crisis. What follows is the final struggle to get home. A similar fate awaits Miguel in Coco. The curse is taking hold, and he will soon be dead and unable to return to his family. Worse, Ernesto betrays Miguel and throws him into a cenote pit? C-E-N-O-T-E pit? I don't know that movie, and I don't know that word. I don't think. And worse, the photo could be a photo that could prevent his true great-great-grandfather from disappearing is lost. You have a similar low point in Thelma and Louise. How will they ever escape the law now that they are cornered? In Incredibles 2, Screenslaver controls the adult heroes. How can they possibly save the day now? The low point in Avatar is when Na'vi homeland is about to be wiped out. That leads to the final battle. When you watch Sleepless in Seattle, you feel pretty low when Annie, Meg Ryan, announces that Sam, Tom Hanks, is history, and that she's finally decided to marry Walter, Bill Pullman. In Titanic, the central character is Rose. As in many love stories, the crisis is precipitated by the separation of lovers. Jack is arrested for stealing the heart of the ocean. Is he stealing Rose's heart as well? Trouble in Cairo. The Purple Rose of Cairo is about movies and their effect on people. Cecilia has a crummy life, a crummy husband, and a crummy job, and lives during the Great or Crummy Depression. For relief, she goes to a local theater where this week, The Purple Rose of Cairo is playing. She's seen it 4 times already, and at the 5th showing, one of the fictitious characters in the movies notices her in the audience and walks right off screen and into her life. The big event, right? Let's take a closer look at this clever flick. In the beginning, we are introduced to reality, Cecilia's husband and life, and then to fantasy, the fictitious character in movies in general. So what will happen next? In the middle, can you guess? We'll have a rising conflict. In this case, fantasy versus reality. The conflict will build to the crisis. What's the crisis going to be? It's going to be the point where Cecilia has to choose between her husband, reality, and the fictitious character, fantasy. Just as Cecilia returns to reality in the end, so must we when we leave the movie theater. The crisis in this film is not just the low point, but an event that forces the central character to make a crucial decision. Once she decides, we can then move into the final act, the showdown or climax and resolution of the story. So it's not just a low point, it's forcing the central character to make a crucial decision. PH says, in Cobra, the changing moment is when Stallone cuts the pizza with scissors. That was what sticks the most at the next day at school. Andrew says, the country went bat crazy. Jurassic Park had really great great visual effects. The story didn't move me, but it looked so good. It reminded me of T2. Meh on the film, but love the special effects. Terminator, we got to go over too. Terminator's already on the list. I personally love Terminator 2. So beginning, middle, obstacle, and climax is the BMOC. James says, I was in the middle of a Crichton binge when the Jurassic film was announced. I was reading to keep pace with a favorite math teacher of mine in the middle school. We just finished Jurassic Park. Vision says, a movie series I feel suffered from audience checkout was Transformers. I couldn't even finish the second movie. Were there like 4 or 5 of those movies, right? I think. I didn't. I think I might have seen Transformers. I think I did, but it was utterly unmemorable. Sable says, Terminator 2 is a great film as well. The reason, though, is that those films, Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, endure is not their effects, transformational as they were, but they maintain great tension. They do so much right. And they do that by giving you characters you care about. It's a bonus that they're mostly kids. So the crisis decision, as with the Purple Rose of Cairo, the crisis often forces the central character to make a tough decision. In The Green Mile, Paul learns that John Coffey is innocent. What will he do now? Will he lead him to the chair so he can ride the lightning? Walt in Gran Torino really gets himself and his neighbors into a fix. As a result of his actions, Sue is raped and Tao's house is shot up. What can Walt do now to defeat this gang? In Aliens, the crisis is precipitated when the little girl is kidnapped by the alien creatures and the planet is about to explode. Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver. God, we should do Aliens too. Man, it's been so long since I've watched Aliens. Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver, must make a crucial life or death decision. Will she abandon the planet or save herself? Or will she return for the little girl? She demonstrates her choosing by igniting her flamethrower. The perfect drama. Many years ago, I discovered the perfect drama. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. We meet Scrooge, Tiny Tim, Bob Cratchit, and others. Each has a problem. Scrooge has a problem, which he doesn't realize he has. Scrooge's problem, which he doesn't realize he has, is that he lacks the Christmas spirit. The big event is the appearance of Marley's ghost. During the middle of the story, 3 more spirits appear to Scrooge, but the crisis comes when Scrooge sees his name on a tombstone and he asks the crisis question, is this fate or can I change? The story ends with Scrooge getting the Christmas spirit and helping others to solve their problems. We are allowed to catch our breath after each apparition. In other words, the story is well paced. Excitement and action are followed by reflection and reaction, and each major and minor turning point creates even more anticipation for the next. So the story's high points gets higher and higher until the end. In terms of dramatic tension and conflict, your story also needs peaks and valleys. Remember that the peaks, the turning points, should generally get higher as the story progresses. Of Mints and Men. I'll take a moment here to offer a letter from a student who thanked me for bringing candy mints to class and demonstrated her clear understanding of story structure. She writes, "It was ironic that I met another writer who shared my addiction to Starlight mints. In my case, it began as an innocent habit. I would keep a jar of mints beside my computer so that I could have a little pick-me-up at any time during the day, the setup. Then a trip to the dentist revealed that I had my first cavity in 12 years, the big event. Things went from bad to worse as I missed my dentist appointments. Spent the housekeeping money on Starlight mints and couldn't even kiss my husband because all the mints were crammed into my mouth. Plot complications. Until the crisis moment when my husband told me that I had to choose between Starlight mints and our marriage. I made the agonizing decision to give up mints. I'm happy now and my marriage is stronger than ever. Resolution." Comedy and story structure. Does comedy use dramatic story structure? Yes. Effective comedy is built on the same principles as effective drama. Airplane is the story of a man who has lost his nerve to fly and must regain it in order to save the people on the airplane. Here's a quote from the writers of Airplane and the Naked Gun series, David Zucker, Jim Abrams, and Jerry Zucker. The movies appear to be a kind of screen anarchy, and believe me, the process of getting it up there is much different. I mean, we're not maniacs. We didn't bounce off the walls when we write. It gets to be a very scientifically designed process, actually. We spend a lot of time marking off 3 acts, concentrating not on the jokes, but on the structure and sequence of the story. It's a very dull first couple of months, but that's how we spend them. And that's according to the Hollywood scriptwriter. There were 7 or 8 Transformer films. I can't post an image in the chat, so I'm just going to say shirtless Ian Malcolm. I mean, that was such a great character. Didn't love the first, but didn't care about the kids, but did love the Terminator movie, the first Terminator. Aliens and Terminator 2 are the top sequels of all film. Easily up there is the same level as Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, sequels that are better than the original. It's a rare thing, but that would be a good table talk conversation as well. We've got that one on the list. And it's what about Rocky 4? You know, it's not, you know, you watch Rocky 1 and then watch Rocky 4. Right? Not often the 4th film in a series is that good. They made and there are 7 Transformer movies. On the last one, they made a connection to G.I. Joe. Sable says, speaking of A Christmas Carol, George C. Scott's version is the best one. Fight me. Yeah, and Jeff Goldblum is fantastic. Goldblum really made that character too. He's always the same character, just Jeff Goldblum in a movie. But it worked for Malcolm. It worked best for Malcolm, arguably. That Jeff Goldblum is Malcolm. Yeah. Comedy, more than anything, relies on structure. Timing is everything. You can't have good timing without impeccable structure. Andrew says, but filmmaking styles change with time. I remember complaints about Lethal Weapon 4 having too many cuts, so the olds couldn't follow it. I followed it fine, but Transformers was unintelligible. Interesting. Oh, that's a great conversation. Airplane is so great. There's actually a hugely efficient storytelling engine chugging away underneath all the visual gags and double entendre dialogue. Oh, Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day, anyone? That movie is the same scene over and over again, but seeing Bill Murray, handles repeatedly the day, but seeing how, I guess that's Bill Murray handles repeating the day over and over again just keeps me hooked for some reason. I know. That's a great movie, too. I'm sure that in decades to come, there will be stylistic changes that will be even crazier and less able for me to understand. Let's see. So how we've been going here. Actually, I might need to cut out because I got things to do before Brianna and I talk, and then we got table talk tonight. So actually, I'm gonna stop us right there. So, but we're gonna come back to this book. This was a great discussion, generated great discussion. And like I said, probably helpful because as many of us are going into NaNoWriMo and got to get our stories done. So how to write a screenplay. Next is situation, conflict, and resolution, the flow of the story, and making a good first impression. So, all right, we'll continue with this book later. Dude, there has to be a table talk on Memento. I hadn't thought about that one. Let me go over here. I'll put that on the list. Yep. Okay. Just did. I have not seen it. Not to be pushy, but please do ask her about comparing notes. I'm excited about it. Okay. Yeah, I will ask her about that. I will. All right. I am out of here. There are things to do. Hopefully overcome resistance today. Let's go forth, be creative, constructive, and grind on. Later.